We have here Verlyn Kleppe and her foxtrotting gelding, Rio. And Rio is definitely, he's registered to be a foxtrotter, and he's conformed to do the foxtrot. And we're going to show you why. We took the angle from the front of his withers to the point of shoulder and marked it out for you. That's where his scapula or shoulder lies. Now if we take that angle and we follow it to the ground, we'll see that this fellow has a really nice ability to do a really nice reaching stride in front. He has a nice reach in front. On the other hand, his arm, which is also very long, and it's nice, the arm actually ideally is about 50%, at least 50%, preferably even 60% of the length of his shoulder. And this fellow's is more than 50%, about 60%. That's really nice. He has a very horizontal arm. We saw a horse earlier that's arm went down more like this, more vertical, and I explained that that meant that he would have a lot of lift. This horse is not going to have very much lift. If you take these angles here, he certainly has adequate lift, but it's not going to be a lot. Now, a foxtrotting horse has long, sweeping reach in front with slight lift. And in fact, they say it looks like a foxtrotter walks in front and trots behind. And that's because in front they have a long, low reach, and there's no moment of suspension between the right and left feet picking up and setting down. There's always one foot on the ground in the front, so it appears that the horse is walking. On the other hand, a foxtrotter is supposed to have more lift behind so that they have a lifty, short stride behind, like this, with a moment of suspension between the right foot and left foot picking up and setting down. So it appears that it's trotting behind. And this horse is definitely going to be able to have plenty of lift behind. You notice the angle that he has here. Again, it's a nice long angle from the point of hip to the point of buttock. It's a nice long angle right there. But it's not particularly dropped. It's not particularly sloping. He's not going to really drop that croup down for a tremendous amount of collection, though he certainly can collect. Any of these horses can be collected up. But he's not going to have as much natural drop underneath himself as a horse who would have much more drop there. On the other hand, from the point of hip to the stifle, you look at this stifle, if you stand back and look at him for his size, it's set on quite low. It's not way up here or here or here. It's not excessively low, but because it's a little lower, he's not going to have as much reach behind. Now I want you to notice he has good hind leg length of legs, so he certainly has plenty of reach, but you notice though he has plenty of leg, he's not as camped underneath himself. In other words, for his size, he doesn't have quite as much length of leg as a horse that perhaps would do a running walk and need to really stride up underneath itself. And so this fellow is definitely going to have the ability here to lift in his hind legs, and that's going to be the natural thing for him to do. Now we want to look and see, how is he wired? Is he wired toward the pace, or is he wired toward the trot? Well, we have something of an advantage. We know he's wired toward the trot because until we worked with him yesterday, he'd never done anything but trot. And in fact, Verlyn thought she had a non-gaited horse. But now we know that he is wired toward the trot. And if you take from the end of the spine to the sacroiliac area where the loin is joined, and you see how wide that area is, in proportion to his overall size, he's very closely coupled. And that usually indicates a horse that's going to tend to fall diagonally or trotty. So he's wired for a diagonal gait, and he's built to do a long, reaching, walk-type gait in front, and a higher, lifting, suspensory gait behind, and so that's a foxtrot.